what is going to happen to our economy? Not just what's going to, let's start with the U.S. economy. I mean, what happens if we have pissed off the GCC so bad that they decide they're not going to trade oil in U.S. dollars anymore?
There is a huge, huge concern. And again, I don't think a lot of people understand why it's important. And again, you hear this from me over and over. You have to go back and look at the history a little bit. You have to know how we got here. The U.S. used to be on a gold standard. And what does that mean? It meant for every dollar you held, it was backed up by gold, right? Well, we went off the gold standard. So what is a U.S. dollar backed by? It's backed by the belief that the U.S. is good for it. A dollar bill, a $10 bill, $100 bill, whatever, is a promise. It's an IOU that says you're going to give them something back that's worth this much, right? If it's gold backed, that means I'm going to get that amount of gold for this. If it's not gold backed, it just means we all agree that this is how much it's worth. Well, that can change overnight. What if we all agree it's not worth that? And right now we use it to trade oil. Every country trades oil in dollars. There's some talk about why that is. And if you look at the Confessions of an Economic Hitman, he talks about how we signed agreements with Saudi Arabia and others that said they would trade in U.S. dollars. That forced the U.S. dollar to have value because you could trade it with oil and everything else, right? But now countries are a little tired of that. By the way, again, this is all one big spider web. Going back to Libya, Gaddafi wanted to form a new currency for Africa called the unit, right? That would not use U.S. dollars. That was sacrilege, couldn't have that. That's another reason we attacked theirs. We couldn't have that. Now, what's the big threat to the U.S.? Dollar. BRICS.
Mm-hmm.
BRICS wants to get off of the U.S. dollar and have their own trading units that is not U.S. based.
Last time I checked, that went from Russia, or I'm sorry, Brazil, Russia, India, China. Now I believe the last time I checked, there was 22 more countries.
Yeah, people are signing on.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, you hear these conversations, that they have to be happening. I mean, China is engaging other countries and literally saying, hey, we don't have to put up with this shit.
Right. We don't have to. And it's one of those is like, hey, kind of in secret on the side, it's like, let's you and I agree that we don't have to use American dollars. And as soon as enough of us agree, we'll just stop and we'll switch over to this. But we need enough of us first to make the switch. So right now there's still talk of let's get enough of us so that we can all agree and then do the switch, right? Also, though, you've got a lot of tie-ins with other countries have invested in the U.S. They own buildings, they own land, they own companies, right? So if our economy tanks, their investments tank. Everything is so interconnected. It's not just an easy, we're going to pull out because we're also going to take a hit then. But then these other countries have to look at it and go, which is worse? This hit or the long-term, stability and freedom to do what we want without someone else telling us what to do?
The movement's growing. BRICS is growing.
That movement around the world is growing.
I'll bet it's going to grow real fast now. What does that look like, though? What does it look like if the Middle East no longer trades their oil in U.S. dollars? What does that mean for us?
I don't know. I'm not an economist, and the little I've read, not good. Our dollar value compared to other currencies would decrease, could decrease to the point of the dollar being worth pennies on the dollar right now. Now, run that out with people's 401ks, retirement. You know, what happens when all of a sudden your retirement is worth 1/20th that you thought it was? That becomes a big issue. That becomes an issue for us as a country, buying goods, services, and food from other countries. It becomes an issue for us as individuals. We're like, hey, I thought I was set up and I had this much value and now I don't. What do I do? It has an issue for young people saying, well, how do I start a family and grow and if what I have is not worth anything? And there are people a lot better versed on this and the economics than me to cover that.
Mm-hmm.
But not something I would look forward to.
I mean, they're talking about a global depression. A global depression.
Could be, because everything's tied together.
Do you think there is a possibility that they're not... Do you think there's a possibility that all these recent attacks on other countries, pulling Maduro out, Iran, do you think that this is a attack on China's energy? They get 75% of their oil from the Strait of Hormuz. Then there's Venezuela. We snatch them. I'm just asking, I'm just asking if maybe we don't have a full picture.
Oh, I don't think we do have a full picture. I think by design, we don't see all of it. The internet has been great in that we get a lot of information we didn't used to. It's horrible in that it's also easy to hide some of the information. You have to really go dig for it to try and find some of these things, and a lot of it is still hidden.
I don't think that. But I'm also trying to think of ways that something that may be a little bit more positive other than we're under Israeli influence. You know, and so even go back a little bit farther, you know, the Panama Canal, which was supposedly controlled by China.
A Chinese company.
We fixed that.
Yeah.
You know, we pulled Maduro out. Now we've bombed the shit out of Iran and they closed the strait.
So you're asking is there a possibility that this is a planned, orchestrated
it's China, the bigger
events
picture,
in order to contain China?
Mm-hmm. It's China. Now, you know, on the caveat to that, I mean, they're investing, from what I understand, heavily in nuclear capabilities. So I think that would just speed that up and they don't have to deal with all the fucking red tape that we have to deal with. So I think that would be a, you know, relatively easy pivot for them.
I think it would be an easy pivot for them. And per capita, the U.S. consumes more in oil per person than China does by far. It would hurt us more than it would hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're looking at ways to contain China, I wouldn't see this as a advisable path. There's too many things that can go wrong and too many things that'll destroy an economy as a side effect. You know what I'm saying? And look at what they're doing with chip manufacturing and robotics and drones and whatnot. I don't think we would contain them by this. It'd be wonderful to think, hey, somebody has a grand plan here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody's got this figured out. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, it's a friend of mine, my attorney, actually brought that up to me, and I said, I don't think that, but I hope you're right. I hope there's a broader plan here than what seems to be the obvious. But
There's lots of times I hear some of these, I'm like, God, I would love to believe that.
yeah,
But call me skeptical.
yeah, yeah,
And again, I don't want to sound always doom and gloom, right? That, all of this is bad, everything is falling apart. There's still a lot we can do. America is still, in my opinion, the best country in the world, right? Look at the people we have, look at our land, look at our resources. We have a lot of oil, right? We have food that we export. Our problem, if you will, is we have stretched out so far to try and extend our power and control that we're starting to lose the whole reason for having that power and control. And that is the lifestyle and benefits to American citizens. And that's why, personally, I am a proponent of pulling back some of what we're doing worldwide and concentrating on America. Let's make sure, and again, Iran, is this helping anybody here? I can't see that it is. We're spending a lot of money, and we're not benefiting Americans. We're benefiting Israelis, certainly not benefiting Iranis. I want to benefit Americans.
or any of the other Middle Eastern,
Or any of the rest of the Middle East.
or the world.
Or the world. So let's concentrate on us. That's where I want to go with this.
I think we leave that section for the end.
All right.
But